Okay, so just to finish up the parts that I need for the neck bending jig, or the neck joint jig, is the clamps to hold the neck. And so I've got just a small bit. I should have drawn them up in the original drawing, but I didn't. So I've just got a small bit of Baltic birch scrap here on the CNC. I got a little G-code to run, and we'll get it going here. So I'll bring you. We'll just let it run, and I'll show you the parts when they get finished. Alright, that's done. Let's move the machine out of the way here. Just park it because I'm done with it for now. Alright, and there's my clamping bits. We should be about 6 inches on center here. We are exactly 6 inches on center because that's what I drew, and it's no reason it shouldn't be. And up we come from the plastic, and there's our tape, tabs. I used tabs this time. The tabs are pretty handy instead of having to cut all the way out or cut the webs or whatever. Sometimes the tabs can be a problem, but this time they were perfect. So off to the bandsaw to free these from their shackles. This is really fast. I'm not going to spend a ton of time because it's really, really fast. So just doink. Pull this out a little bit so I can see. One is free, the other is free. And I stopped the blade, of course. Pop you out, pop you out. Put you over here where I cut through before. A little scrap, a couple of good pieces. Clamps, I'll get them cleaned up a little bit on the sander. I'll just move you a little here. Link. All I'm doing is flushing these little nibs from the tabs up real fast. This won't take but a second. That's it. I'll sand the surfaces a bit, maybe bevel these edges, get the tear out off of them, but that's my clamps. Now to work out mounting them on the jig. Need to get a little bit of hardware for that. So I'll bring you back when I've got hardware in hand. Okay, I have the hardware now for clampy bits. And so I'll just double check that I am where I want to be. I am. Okay, so what we've got is 5/16 carriage bolts. I'm not quite sure how long, so I bought a bunch of them. But we want to drill a couple of holes first, so I've just got them marked. I measured in and just centered it on the center line of the neck area here, and just a little bit of drill. And then a little bit of drilling. Alright, I lost audio at this point, but I'm just drilling out small holes first, then I swap out with the small bit. I used an 1/8 inch bit, then I come back with a 5/16 bit for the carriage bolts. This just helps me make sure those holes are as placed accurately as possible. It's easier with a small bit to keep it in the right place to keep it from wandering. And then I try to put these carriage bolts through. It's a fairly snug fit, so we're going to flip things up and grab the hammer and tap those in. And just tap one in now. I'm just checking to make sure that this is a long enough screw. So I got the neck and I got one of the clamp jaw thingies. They're a little bit snug. We'll have to widen those slots when we put a knob on it. All right, those are now in place. Grab them here. So we'll set the neck in and just give this a test here and see how this does. So this will go down here, hold against that, and this one just cinches it up, just like that. That's held already pretty good. And this one can come in here. Pretty damn good, I'd say. The neck is now fastened and held well. And I think I could line that with cork too, just to be nice if the neck was finished or contoured or shaped already. I might actually put a V, maybe something like that, I don't know. But there we go. I'm going to call this jig, oh, almost done. We're almost there. Only thing left now is this little bit of angle. That'll go down here and stick up so I can get the neck angle. So we'll get that on there next and I'll bring you back. Okay, so I've just drilled a couple of 3/16 holes in the aluminum after marking a spot for where it should go, like so, and I'm going to just grab a spring clamp here to hold her in place. It's very important that this is flat against this face. It's less of a thing to be against here, but vertical would be nice. And then I'm just going to take a pencil here real quick and mark it. For center and for center here. Okay. And you can take it out and I can just drill down there a hole, a pilot hole, like that. Like that. And just make space. And get to where I can see this hole. That one did go through, that's okay though. Now I need to get a couple of screws, which I have steadfastly hidden from myself. These will probably do just fine. Might be a tiny bit. Yeah, those are a bit long. We'll get some slightly shorter ones. Sorry, this is how prepared I am. Okay. Now, take the screwdriver. Once I will drive the screws in so that I pre-thread this hole nicely. Okay. Now those will drive in nicely while I'm trying to hold on to a screw and a screwdriver all at the same time. Find the spot. Okay. I'm just going to partially drive it for a fair moment. Just get it close so it'll hold it in place. So I can get the second screw going. Okay. Now we're not really too wobbly. That's good. Just going to drive this one on in. And then I'll drive this one on in. Okay, so now we have a good registration of our front surface. I'll show you that now. 1 second. Alrighty, so it's been the next day now. This glue up is ready. Oh man, I'm making a mess here. I am really strong when I tighten clamps, and I'm really weak when I try to loosen them. Alright. So this is a bit of test scrap that I'm going to use to check the neck angle jig. Make sure I get the neck angle right. I'm going to use this to make my test cuts. So I'm going to make this into more of a neck shape here in just a second, and then we'll bring you back. Alright, just mark the center line on the top of this. I jointed one edge, cut out a bit of a kind of a mock neck profile. This will just be so it'll be grabbable. I left plenty of butt because I have a feeling I'm going to need to do this a few times. So left enough room to cut a couple of these joints. I also cut this at like a 1.5, 2 degree angle or so, so that it's prepared. And so we'll just get this mounted up in the jig and use it as a test. Here, I'll bring you back. Alright, so I have my angle set to what it should be for the body of the guitar that I'm working on now. And I'm just going to set this in here, aligning the center line. Because I don't have a truss rod slot, I've pushed the, well, I sort of pushed. I pushed the brass pins forward a bit so that they aren't interfering. And I'm just going to line up center on this. I'm going to grab a clampy, a little more. Okay. And then we'll get it aligned with the center line here. Let's see what's the easiest way to hold it here. Yeah, we're going to need that other set. I'm going to need to clamp both sides because it's not quite sitting flat. I want to get a clamp on it here. Yeah, this is too short to do here. So what I think I will do, I want to hold on to this a little better because it's pretty good, but it's just not flat against the neck. It's just not flat against the board here. Allow me to think for a moment. I guess I can cut a little bit more. There's still a lot of room for the bout. Yeah, I want to go trim this. I want to make sure I have an adequate test here. So I'm going to take this over the bandsaw and make another bit of slicing. I'm going to actually mark it so I know where I need to. How's that? That's fine. Okay. Alright, a little more sliced off. Now I can grab it with both clamps. And I'll just slide it on in here. Get it kind of close to the center. Kind of close to the center line. Set our clamp on it. Well, get that washer out of the way. Okay. Get really close to center here. That, and then we can take this little guy, slide it on in, and this will grip it down nicely here. There we go. That holds it nice and flat. That's much better. And we're roughly in the center there. I'm gonna tap this just a tiny bit so that my get loose enough to take it. There. Like so. And we can tap. Too far. There we go. Tighten that all down. There we go. That's pretty good. Now I have the neck blank in place. Alright, so we've got our flat 2x4 that'll simulate my body side, or the body top, the upper bout of the body. Just slide it in, and I'm just making sure it's flat up against the inside there. Give this a nice little cinching. Yeah, there's no pressure on, there's no spreading pressure going on here, so we're good. Alright, now I got to get my router ready, so I'll bring you back here in just a second. Okay, so I'm sort of ready to start testing this thing out. And I've got my blocks, my test blocks mounted into the jig, and I want to make sure I get the template where I would like it. So basically what I'm looking at is there's a 5/8 guide bushing in the router, this here. 5/8 guide bushing here, this is 5/8 diameter. The dovetail bit that'll go in here is a 1/2 inch diameter, so that means it's going to be offset by a 1/16 on either side. I think I did that right. Oof, I might have done that right. I better double check that. I think I might have done an 1/8 on either side. Shouldn't matter for this though. Maybe it will. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, it's offset. In order to account for that offset. Yeah, I know what I did. Okay. Yeah, all right. So to account for that offset, I want to make sure that I move the jig forward, move the template forward enough so that it stops before hitting. So let's imagine the front of the guitar is here. The top is against this jaw. The back is against this. Well, the neck joint, I don't want to have the joint push through to the back side so you'd end up seeing it. That would be, as Robert O'Brien says, the technical term for that is bad. So I want to have it stop a little before. And so what I'll do, I think I'll just do this with my square here, is I'll transfer that line downward towards. So what I'm doing is I put a square on here, and I'm basically just trying to visualize where the bit will stop cutting, or where the guide bushing will end. Because if I put the end of this template up against where the end, it's got to come forward. If I put it up against, boy, I wish I could give you a better visual of that. Yeah, let me see if I can find a better angle here. Hold on. All right, we're going to try this handheld. It's rarely a good idea, but as you can see down here, I've got the square against the back end of this template right here, and it's just pushing down. You can see it hangs over the back, what would be our theoretical back of our body. So if I just come back here and just pull this forward until where it basically lines up with that. So we're just kind of, you and I are both looking in the exact same spot right now. So that basically lines up, which in the end will mean that the bit will stop a 1/16 from the end, because there's a 1/16 of a bit, the 1/16 of an inch offset, right? Well, I don't want to be a 1/16. I want to be closer to a 1/4. So I'm going to come forward, because that'll put me right around the binding area when there's binding on here. So now you can see I'm just, having that flashlight really helps. I'm just pulling forward just enough to get it, you know, roughly about there. And I'm actually going to come forward just a tiny bit too much, because I'm testing. And so if I wanted to, I can, if it turns out that this is too small or too big, or if it's too small, I can push the pattern back some more. So I'm about 3/8 or so. Can you see in there? Probably not very well. I'm about 3/8 of an inch from the back edge. So we're going to try this, and I'll cinch everything down. I'll bring you back. Alright, so we've moved it where I think it'll be useful. This is also being very conservative, because I want to make sure that my tests are incremental. I want to sneak up on this. So I don't want to try to take it all in one pass. So we're going to do a very similar thing on the neck side here. Get you a better shot there. And I'm going to have it pull way far forward so that it cuts a wider dovetail than it needs to. I'm going to pull it as far forward as I think I can get with the base, with that offset of the guide bushing. So it's about, I'd say, a 1/16 hanging off this end. It's towards you a 1/16. I can see gap, a 1/16 of an inch gap down here, or so, maybe a little more than that, 3/32. And then that'll make it cut the maximum width dovetail possible. And if it doesn't quite reach because of the roundness of the bit, I'm okay with that, because I can just cut that with a chisel if I have to. I actually do need to go a little more. I need to back up just a little bit further because it won't cut all the way through. So I'm going to go closer to 3/16 of a gap, inch gap. Even that will still leave a bit of a round because you got the radius of the bit too. So, all right, I'm going to try that. We'll see if that works. It may or may not work. And our angle is set correct. I've got these now where I want to try for my first test. Now, the depth of cut for this dovetail is 15 millimeters. So I've got this little high-tech shim, little piece of MDF cut to 15 millimeters. And I'm going to use that to set the depth on my router. But I need to do it over here. I actually have to do it twice. I have to do it here and here. I'm basically setting the max depth. But before I get into that, I'll show you what's in the router right now. Right now we've got a 1/4 inch router bit because it's what I have. I'd like to use a 3/8, but I have a 1/4 inch, so we're using a 1/4 inch. I don't have a 3/8 in this collet, and I could switch collets, I guess, but me being lazy. And I think basically what we're doing here is the straight bit. It's just a straight bit, not a dovetail bit yet. We'll switch to a dovetail bit, but we're doing the straight bit first so we can hog out most of the material so we're not working that dovetail bit too hard. I'll try to make the dovetail bit only have to cut what it absolutely has no choice but to cut. That's the intent anyways. So what I'll do is I'll set this in the jig, and yeah, we're going to get a pretty good dovetail here. And so first thing we do, run it down until it's touching the body. And I take my high-tech measuring device here. It's up a little bit. There we go. And that's my depth. That's now I go until this touches, and that's how deep that'll be. So we're gonna use this now to kind of hog out the waist. I can come way out here. Yeah, we're well supported all the way. We'll go all the way in, come around, go out, and then clear out what's in the center. No time like the present. Let's get this going. Safety gear. You can't. That doesn't. And here we are after the first pass, or after the roughing pass, which is to depth with the 1/4 inch bit. Pretty clean cut. And you can see we're back away from where our binding would be. We're quite a ways back on purpose, remember, we pulled it out far enough. Now let's go do the neck side. Alright, so we've done the body side, now we can do the neck side. We're going to do the exact same process of zeroing out against the body here. Okay, that's against the wood. Grab our little shimmy bit here, little measuring device, and drop it down after we move that up. Okay. There we go, and that is our 15 millimeter depth. Okay, and then we can start roughing out this side of the dovetail as well. So, more noise. Okay, this is the remainder of test cut 1, or roughing of test cut 1. So, came out pretty good. So far, so good. We're going to switch out and do the dovetail bit next. Okay, we switched out. We've got the dovetail router bit in there, and all we got to do to set the depth on this is actually move our depth stop out of the way, because we don't need the stop anymore. We're just going to use what's cut as our bottoming out spot. So we just drop the bit down until it touches wood, and call that 0. And all we got to do now is run against the pattern and have at it. So a little more safety gear, and we'll get this one going too. Okay, now we have the dovetail. Looks like it came out all right. I'll know for sure when I go to fit the neck into this, but all in all, it cut pretty well. Now it's time to do the neck. Alright, same procedure for the neck. We go and set it down till we bottom it out on the wood. That's our 0. Locked. We're ready to start routing again. This time it's a climb if I go this way, so I'm going to come out and come into this. But other than that, that should be basically the same process. So we're ready to go. Alright, we've got our previous dovetail, and let's pop this out. It's definitely wider, but I have a feeling it's going to sink in nicely. And I think we're in good shape. Let's see. Let's see. Yep, that's good. I can dial that. That's actually too far, so now that tells me my template is in the vicinity. We're in the right ballpark. What I need to do now is move the template back just a teensy-tiny bit. Just a teensy-tiny bit. I didn't get the, now the template moving back will fix this, but I didn't get the very end of this, long end of the dovetail. Let me get that out of the way. Okay. I did it on that side, sort of, not quite. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to see how far I need to move it. I want to get an idea of how much difference I need. So we'll say maybe a total of just about 1/8, maybe a little heavier than 1/8. So I'm going to move that so that I'm going to put the neck back in, and I'm going to get it right back into center, and then I'm going to move the template back so that things shrink by about a 1/16 on either side. This will make sense here in just a second. Okay, let's get this in there. Get it roughly centered. Just make sure we're not pushing things up here. Let's get it pretty well centered. This will be centerable. This will be a lot more repeatable with a real neck because it'll have the truss rod slot. But for now, we're just sort of gauging here. And now I'm going to put a fairly sharp pencil line down each side. And then I will loosen my template and push it back a little bit until this is about, that's less than a 1/16. But I want to ease into this. I don't want to kick into it so harsh. I don't want to overshoot it. Okay, I'm going to take another pass. We're going to lift this. We're going to re-zero here. Let's double check that I did not lift good. Okay, we'll do another pass at depth and check it again here in a second. Be right back. Alright, so what I've done, real quick here, drop stuff on the floor, is I went back with a chisel and I took out, there was some raised stuff here. That just didn't let it sit. So now this goes right on and it's flush. It sticks out, it's a little short, but we can take care of short, that's no problem. But that gets me the angle that I needed and it gets me a dovetail. So I'm going to call the jig a success. A raving success. A wild and awesome success. And it's actually pretty good as far as perpendicularity goes too. So now is just a matter of getting back to the build and actually making making this tenon again, making this dovetail one more time. I want to do one more last test, because right now the neck template is in place, but I still have the mortise and tenon mortise part in place, so I need to put the other one back and then work completely out where I need things to stop, because I'm pretty sure that moving this template means I'm going to end up having to move this template. So we'll do one more quick little test after this, and man, that dovetail is good. That is really good, and that'll help me get my marks in place as well. So, all right, moving on.